Sup guys, Zenoto here, back at you with another video, this time discussing the coaching rule for the Wii U rule set. If you've been following my Twitter or Smash Twitter in general, it's a pretty hot topic right now, and I thought it'd be easier to discuss it by making a video as opposed to trying to convey my point through 140 characters on Twitter. I've had this discussion with a lot of people in the last 2 months, and I feel what better a time to share it than now. Like every video I make, I'm going to try and keep it as unbiased and as focused as possible, but I feel like a lot of the opinion, especially those on social media, generally lack focus or are driven completely out of passion. In this video, I'm going to state my personal opinion on the coaching rule and also try and excite examples that both explain the potential problem that there are now and that can arise in the future. Mind you, this is only one opinion, and like every opinion, you all don't have to agree. But that's the purpose of discussion. The goal of this video is just to make the community aware of what we have going and potentially identify changes that we can and may need to make. That said, let's get right on into it. The first issue I want to make known is that like any rule, it is commonly being misused, most notably at larger events. The ruling states you must designate a coach beforehand to your opponent, and when you want the coaching, call for a 30-second timeout. This makes it so both you and your opponent can receive advice from your respective coaches. This rule is constantly being misused, and it's mainly just strictly due to ignorance. Most players don't acknowledge their coach beforehand and often just grab whoever is around at the time as they are unsure if they'll need coaching or not in the first place. Moreover, it is even less likely that they will call for a proper timeout unless it's a stream match or on stage, making the time limit of 30 seconds often extending well beyond that. Of course, it's hard to enforce any rule across multiple stations and tournaments, but the fact that the ruling is so unique to a fighting game type tournament makes it unclear on how to do so. Also, TOs just aren't enforcing it. Out of the last 5 A-rank tournaments and higher I've been to, the only TO I've seen to enforce this ruling accurately is Bear. If this is the case with the TOs, why would the players understand how to enforce it, let alone do it at all? The other thing is that with lots of different countries and regions coming into these tournaments, the language barriers make identifying problems that occur like this super hard to do, or punish, since they, a lot of the time, just don't know. Someone can just straight up not know what a timeout is, and when their friend or teammate waves them over for help, can get DQ'd since they didn't call an official timeout. The logistical issues can be solved obviously, but at larger events with lots of money on the line and the fact that these tournaments are counting for a ranking system used by larger esports organizations, I feel like this isn't the time to experiment with something that can alter brackets so heavily. If I had to say it in one sentence, it'd be that esports are not the same thing as sports. Firstly, quite a few individual sports do not allow mid-game coaching, like men's tennis and chess. Some of the ones that do are iffy on how the rules are described in the first place. Boxing seems to be the one of the few where it's explicitly allowed, which leads me to the idea behind coaching in general. The idea that to make esports large, we need to fit into the mold of sports is kind of like trying to shove a square block into a circle hole. More accurately, the conditions that serve as driving factors for an esport do not match the ones that do for sports. In-the-moment decision-making is much more imperative in sports than it is in esports, which is partly why coaches train so extensively with the players. Not to say that they don't have similarities, it's just that in this instance, mid-game coaching largely more impacts the results of gameplay in esports than it does in sports. Other esports titles that utilize coaching are primarily team games, where the coaching is geared more towards focusing on a concept rather than habits. For example, such as in League of Legends, after a game, the coaches will discuss macro gameplay, things that will affect team play and how they accurately move across the map, rather than focusing on how someone lanes and specific habits against their lane opponent. In FGC type games, anything that takes away from the PvP aspect is generally frowned upon, hence for example why we remove items. It creates an uneven playing field that everyone doesn't have an equal opportunity to level. So back at Civil War, I met Kodiak, the FGC manager for Evil Geniuses, for the first time. It was his first time being at a Smash event, and he wanted to kind of get the full tourney experience to see how it differed from other kind of tournament types. The thing he enjoyed the most was that it all seemed to come as a package. You got to spend your $10 to enter the tournament, potentially play your favorite player, meet them face to face, and afterwards you were a spectator, so you got to watch them play as well. All for just $10. The opportunity was extended equally to everyone, and everyone has to go through the same process, regardless if you are a random or zero or whoever. You had an opportunity to play the best of the best and to make a name for yourself at every event. With mid-game coaching, someone's $10 in tournament could be instantly worth less than the $10 of someone else, depending on the coach, which I'll kind of explain a little bit more later. So there are a lot of arguments why mid-game coaching in Smash should be legal, but there are many fallacies in some of the common arguments that I want to make apparent. Firstly, that it doesn't take away from the 1v1. Objectively, I do not believe this to be true. Part of the PvP process is adapting to habits, and having a second set of eyes takes a lot of that strain away altogether. It becomes a matter of what you value more, the PvP or the level of play in that instance. Being able to adapt quicker, regardless of whether that comes from you or not, makes it so the level of play will likely increase. But it depends on the matter of whether you value it being in a 1v1 aspect or just seeing a higher level of play. Saying that it doesn't take away from the 1v1, I do not believe to be true. The second argument is to just get a coach. So now, the reason why this is frustrating is because many times the coaching role isn't properly used, and the result of the situation is where one person has a coach during the timeout and the other one doesn't. In the event that this isn't the case, usually the coaches are simply just the friends of a player, meaning that unless your friend happens to be the stronger player, you probably aren't getting an equal opportunity even if you are quote-unquote better than your opponent. Also, a lot of the times players will just refuse to coach against their friends, meaning that it becomes a lot less about what you know and more about who you know. This also can be a problem in bracket manipulation. If you don't want to play against one player, just coach the other player against them to increase that player's odds of winning. In sports, the coaches work with players a lot more than simply during the event. They essentially nurture them the entire way. In our case, the coaches are more so being used as a crutch as opposed to support. Moreover, the coaches in sports are generally paid professionals that are accessible to all the players, which is not the case in Smash. The third thing I want to make apparent is that it creates more jobs in esports, which I agree with, it does indeed, but mid-set coaching does not. I got to talk with Tafo about his role in coaching Mango, and he acts essentially as Mango's backbone. He makes sure that by the time game day hits, they've worked on strategies, characters, matchups, and he's sufficiently had time to practice throughout the week, and that he's done it, and also that the only thing he has to worry about the time he sits in that chair is playing. His coaching extends far beyond the scope of just being an extra set of eyes, and that's what I feel should be the job that's created in the Smash community. Mid-set coaching does not offer this, as the coaches for this are generally whoever is available at the time, and it does not often extend much further than that. It is my belief, and mind you, it's just my opinion, that when you hit the chair, you should be ready to play by yourself and for yourself. Your coach should prepare you for the moment, not in it. The ability to adapt, play under pressure, and properly execute techniques, and inevitably play to win should fall on the responsibility of the player. So I guess in conclusion, I believe mid-set coaching is degenerative to 1v1 gameplay and often creates unequal opportunities that skew results and effectively should be banned. Moreover, it presents an opportunity for players to manipulate brackets that otherwise would not be present in this current rule set. It's also just simply commonly misused at larger events, and situations often arise where one person will have a coach while another will not. I think the ideal thing to do is to simply remove mid-set coaching, but I understand a lot of the time it's not about what's ideal and is instead about what's wanted. He may not have been the first to propose this idea, but Rimsey did show me the idea of having coaches register for the tournament as a whole in advance, and those that do are unable to enter the events themselves. This would make it a lot more objective and offer a much fairer opportunity. Moreover, it would support the idea of the coaching position being an actual job rather than just having a friend in a corner. I think that if mid-set coaching is to stay, that this is a fair compromise. So those are my thoughts on coaching in Smash 4. I tried to keep it as clean as possible without sounding like a robot, spitting out information, but I think it turned out well. No one is ever going to be able to make 100% of the community satisfied, myself included obviously, but that's why discussion is always helpful. Sorry for the wait, I know I'm starting to suck with releasing these videos, but I'll fix that post-haste. These tournaments are really starting to take a strain on me, and I'm really trying to get my mentality back into it for when the summer of Smash kind of just kicks off. Hopefully by tomorrow I'll have the Sonic Cram School video up as well, but at the latest it'll be Saturday. Following that, another Cram School video on Tuesday, and then another Let's Talk video on Thursday before I head out to Combo Breaker. Again, thanks for watching guys, and if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out the rest of the videos on my channel as well. As always, I love you guys, and I'll see you all next time.